Hi, this is Amy. This evening I'm going to show you how to go ahead and add the blossoms to the branches. And this is for the cherry blossom tree. Last night, I guess last night I did a video showing you just how to quickly add the branches to the Pilsner glass. Tonight I'm going to be using berry wine and wicker white folk art enamel glass paint. And just quickly going to go through here and add some blooms and buds to the tree branches, just sporadically placing them. Now again, I'm using the berry wine and the wicker white combination, and I'm just going to add some buds first. And you can just do this as a single bud, or you can double it up, however you want to do it. It's up to you. I kind of like the look of the doubles. And like I said, I'm just going to be sporadically, especially since you're doing it on a glass like this. If you were doing it more in a straight area, as far as like on a canvas or something along that line, you would be actually maybe situating these a little bit differently with the full blooms and then the buds. But since I'm actually just going to be sporadically placing these throughout the glass, it doesn't really matter. And I always like to mention, one of the important things with doing glass painting, if you're going to bake your glass after it's been painted, is to make sure that you put your glassware in a cold oven and then preheat. Do not put your glassware in a hot oven. Your glass will break. My favorite brand of glass to use for painting glass is Libby Glassware, and one of the reasons that is, besides the fact I just really like the glass and the selection that they have to offer, is the fact that it's actually made in my home state, and it is a product that's made within the U.S., and I definitely like to support U.S. companies. Like I said, these are just a simple little stroke. You can just put on there and just kind of swirl it around. And as I mentioned before, you can just use just a single, but I like to double them up. So like I said, right now I'm just going to go and add those first, and then go back in and add the blooms. There's no rhyme or reason, just place where you want them. You can turn your glass, like some of these are heading downward, so I can turn the glass to accommodate the turn in the branches. Alright, so there's the start of that. Then I'm going to go back through and add my blooms. And they're typically about a 5-petal flower when they're open. And basically with the white on the outer part. Okay. Sorry, trying to keep it on the Trying to keep it on the screen there. Alright. There you go. It's kind of a fun little flower to paint. I hope you can see this. Basically, I'm just double loading my brush, kind of doing my own style. It's kind of a combination, as in all my painting. It's kind of a combination of a one stroke and my own. As with anything, I really do believe that once you've painted for a long time, you kind of put in your own little twist into things. They're not always going to be exactly, you know, one process or one technique over another. And if you want to get it really fancy, you can try to have petals that are, you know, just kind of maybe show some movement, you know, coming back, as far as not just all being totally open, because in the real world, petals are not always perfect. And they might be folded over a little bit. Alright, looks like we're doing good. Guess that I've done this pattern on some wine glasses too, and it's a pretty pattern. It'd be actually a very pretty wedding glass too, if you wanted to sell it that way or give it as a gift. And just keep, you know, turning your glass and checking it out and seeing where you might need to add some more color. It's one thing nice about glassware, and I know I've mentioned this before, is the fact that you can keep turning it. Unlike when you're painting on a wall, a little hard to do that. I don't like my brush to be too full of paint. I know a lot of people say, well, you don't have to keep cleaning your brush off. Well, I'm not really cleaning it per se as far as putting it in water, but I do kind of like to have it, you know, brush some of the excess paint off. And I just feel like it keeps my colors a little bit cleaner. Okay. Sorry again if I'm scrunching up on the screen here. I'm trying to keep it where you can see what I'm doing. Alright. Yeah, I might want to add a little bit of a flower down here towards the bottom. I'm just looking at it mainly for the fact of trying to fill in the colors. Okay. Like I said, and it's your preference. If you see a spot that you feel like you need to add more to it, then do it. You know, I just don't really feel like there's a wrong, right way. I mean, some people might disagree with me on that. I'm sure there's probably some protocol as far as how you place the flowers, but I don't care. So God gave you an imagination and a brain for. Use it. Alright, so the next step is going to be going through and just kind of adding some, what would typically be green is actually going to just be the burgundy. Alright, so basically I'm just going to be adding some flowers, like little, I guess what would be leaves, what you would consider being leaves. I hate that that's not I'm just using the single color of paint, not using a one stroke two load type thing, just this. I mean, you can if you want to. Like I said, it's up to you. Just basically touching. I'm using a flat brush and I'm just touching and putting it on there. I actually need to get some new gloss painting brushes, so bear with me on this. They're not as crisp as I would like them to be. And if you wanted to do it with white, you could. You certainly could. Or another color, if you had a preference as far as another color to add to it. I just want to make sure I'm getting all the buds here. Got so many of them that it's kind of hard. And of course I just painted my finger. So that's awesome. And you could actually do some of these flowers where they're not quite open, but I just painted them all in an open position. Alright, so the next step is going to then be to add the little stamens into the inside of the flowers. And with this, I'm just going to use this little liner brush and just kind of go around to the different flowers and just kind of add just quick little movements with my brush. If you want to add more lines, that's fine. Because I'm basically just going to go back in and add a bunch of dots. So it's really not going to matter how much this shows, because a lot of what I'm doing is probably going to be covered up with dots. I try not to do them too darkly, but some of them come out a little thick. Oh well. You get the gist. I try to stand up while I'm doing these videos so I can keep an eye on what I'm doing in the screen here. Sometimes it's hard on my back. I think I've got almost all of them. Alright. Alright, I think I got most of them. So then what you do is you're going to go in and just start dotting, doing some dotting to them. And this is using like the berry wine still. And if you want to use, contrasting color, you can do that too if you want. Something that might show up a little bit more. And like I said, just keep in mind too that I'm just quickly doing this. If I were taking my time, it might look a little bit neater. Just kind of giving you some basic ideas. You might want to throw some brown into it, because that'll give you a little bit more contrast. And just work it a little. Okay, then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to add some yellow. And that'll help give it some contrast too. And I know I didn't mention this, I haven't mentioned this in a couple videos, but whatever paint you decide to use, my favorite is Folk Art Enamels. just make sure that you read the manufacturer's suggestion as far as how to cure the paint, bake the paint, that type of thing, because that's real important. And I know a lot of times people will ask me questions as far as the bake time or the curing time, how much you should, allow the paint to dry before you bake it, that kind of thing. All really stems down to what paint you're using. So it can be kind of hard to answer that. I can give you the basics. But I do know, like folk art enamels, you don't have to paint, good lord, till it's getting late. You don't have to bake, but you do need to let it dry. If you are going to bake it, you should really allow it to dry about an hour or so before you actually put it in the oven. And once again, that is a cold oven. Okay. And then I'm going to go back in and try to add some white dots into this mix. If you want to use like the end of your paintbrush too, you can do that if you feel better literally doing more of a dot as opposed to like a random thing with the paintbrush. And basically with this you can just keep working until you feel like you've got the look you want. And you just might want to consider what other color you could throw into this mix to make it stand out a little more. And that's okay if you work it to where you come back and just keep layering colors onto it also. You just want something that has some contrast to it and some color. Not something that looks kind of boring. And that's why I think maybe the brown would help out with that. If you wanted to add some brown. I'm just coming back over. Matter of preference here. Alright, we're almost done. And like I said, if you're going to bake it, allow it to sit outside, or not outside, but allow it to air dry for at least an hour, and then go ahead and bake it. Cold oven, and there you go. So pretty easy, nice little gift, and really anybody can do it. Alright, hope you enjoyed it. And again, I thank you for stopping by. Have a good evening.